Since DICE revealed their next Battlefield game 1 week ago, the interest in the new game has been massive, with 1.3 million players signing up to gain access to the pre-alpha test Battlefield Labs. And along the way, there's been more tidbits of info and general community sentiment to contend with. It's been an interesting ride. Let's dive into it. Now, if you haven't been glued to your social media, gobbling up every little breadcrumb of Battlefield info, let me catch you up to speed. The newly announced Battlefield Labs should be open in a few weeks. Playtests will be limited, especially at the start, to a select number of invited players who are all going to be under NDA. There's a pretty good chance some of this info is going to leak, so if you're interested in that kind of thing, keep your eyes peeled. As for what exactly Labs will offer, the specific language in the blog post announcing Battlefield Labs makes it sound like all of the experiences coming with the next Battlefield will be available to test at some point. So campaign, multiplayer, whatever mode Ripple Effect is working on. Naturally, the Labs announcement did not come with a full release date for the game, or even a ballpark for that matter. What we know so far is that EA would like to release it during the fiscal year of 2026, which starts in April 2025 and ends in March 2026. This is obviously a pretty big window. I think a lot of people would expect the game to launch in holiday season of this year, but it does give EA some flexibility. It's possible that they don't want to go head-to-head with the next Grand Theft Auto game or the next Call of Duty game for that matter. EA also indicated that if their release window isn't looking good for whatever reason, they can move as needed. Generally, that should just go without saying, but given Battlefield's history of undercooked game releases, it kind of needs to be said this time around that they're going to delay the game if it needs to be delayed. And now that we've had about a week to comb through the trailer footage and deduce any additional info, we have. But sadly, DICE really was careful about not showing much. In fact, all of the B-roll shots in the background showing map overlays and stuff are actually all from Battlefield 2042, so analyzing that stuff is pretty much pointless. There were a few standout things that I found interesting. We get a shot of an animator working on a medic character model that looks like they're doing a hold here hand sign. The in-game communication tools for Battlefield 2042 featured similar animations, so hopefully this means we'll be getting even more of that stuff in the new game. Being able to communicate without using voice comms or chat is a big deal for some folks, especially those that appreciate the immersion. In the title cards for the start of the trailer and the introduction of Battlefield Labs, there are latitude and longitude coordinates that point to Kazakhstan. Now, Kharkiv, the map that a lot of people are thinking the trailer is taking place in, is a fictional city that DICE has made up, but there is some trivia that suggests it was based on Kuwait City. For whatever reason, DICE have included Easter eggs that point to Kazakhstan in previous Battlefield games. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat featured a conflict set in various locations around Kazakhstan. In Battlefield 5's final Easter egg, the Tower of Babel rewarded players with Eidolon skin. That skin had a medallion on it with coordinates for Kazakhstan. Now, personally, I think DICE just kind of have a legacy of associating with that country since they set a whole game in it, but we can certainly try and read further into that if we wanted. As for the actual gameplay sections of the video, we haven't been able to really confirm what map it is, other than a lot of people think it's Kharkiv. David Sirlin confirmed in a reply to a former Battlefield senior dev that the footage isn't scripted this time around like it has been in previous trailers. What that means is that generally to get the best possible, coolest looking action shots, DICE heavily scripts out action sequences so everything's lining up perfectly at the right time. The fact that these shots were taken from potentially just running around and having some gameplay is encouraging. It means that what we're looking at is a more accurate representation of what gameplay might be like. Now, based on some concept art and even this trailer, we do know that at least some of the locations are going to be in Egypt. A Google translation of the sign from this shot from the gameplay section of the trailer looks like it could be a political message for someone named Ahmed al-Juhani with the campaign slogan for the future of Egypt. As for info about soldiers, factions, and weapons, well, the trailer shows several shots of soldier uniforms and weapons. The blog post for the trailer mentions the return of Battlefield's traditional classes: Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon. Early in the trailer, we get a shot of a character with a medic's uniform on. The same character model is seen throughout the gameplay footage. So this is likely, say, the Assault class character model, and there are also soldiers that look like support and recon. The potential support character has the typical bulkier gear and silhouette of a traditional support class character. The recon has a ghillie suit helmet on and more slender overall look. Again, consistent with past Battlefield games. The engineer class may not appear in the trailer, but it is tough to tell with so many of the character models looking similar. An interesting note is that it looks like every soldier in the footage is using an M4A1 assault rifle. It's possible this was done to create a more cohesive looking military for the footage, or they just didn't have new weapon models ready for the gameplay. Some are speculating that this footage is actually from the campaign and that those soldiers are just like NPCs that would fight behind you, but it doesn't necessarily match up with Sirlin's tweet about the gameplay being unscripted. As for trying to gauge the general community response, it's pretty divided right now. In one camp, we have the don't pre-order under any circumstances crowd who remembers being burned many times before. The general sentiment being that no matter how good the marketing looks, don't believe it until you play the game. Everybody's been duped before. Wait this time around, wait for reviews, wait for your friends to talk about the game, and then decide if you're going to buy it. In the other camp are players who are so starved for a modern military Battlefield that they can barely see straight. It's been over a decade since Battlefield went modern military, which kind of sounds crazy saying that out loud. It's like such an obvious theater of war that DICE has neglected for so long. So to toss out a modern military trailer with Battlefield 3 music vibes, and some of those old school fans are just chomping at the bit to get access to this game. As for me, well, I'm hopeful but apprehensive. My desire for a new Battlefield game really is rooted in innovation. I want some new ideas that excite me and not just some cheap nostalgia fan servicey experience. But big studios, especially the biggest Battlefield team ever assembled, generally aren't great at innovating, or rather the business built around them is designed to not innovate and instead play things as safe as possible. And frankly, I see a lot of people wanting something that doesn't innovate but instead repeats the good old days, quote unquote, of Battlefield design. So maybe I'm in the minority camp this time around. And considering the alpha playtest signups are already well past 1 million, I don't think DICE is going to have a hard time finding an audience for this game. And now that we've had some time to digest this trailer, what are you guys thinking? Yes, I know don't pre-order, but beyond that, are you excited about the theme changes? Do you think the devs are going to surprise us, or is this going to be kind of like a reset for the franchise that takes them back to the classic design of the game, which they can then build upon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it. Thanks for being patient. I've been sick and out of the loop for about a week, and my voice is just getting there where I can actually make it through a voiceover now. So thanks for being patient, guys. Up next, check out this video where I talk about some of my ideas for innovating the classic Battlefield formula, how to revitalize game modes like Conquest and make them more interesting and appealing to a modern audience. If you don't think Battlefield can innovate but stay traditional at the same time, well, this video argues that point. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.